Hi, my name is Emily Bova, and I will be doing my presentation on yoga and children with autism spectrum disorder. This is for Kinesiology 587, Section 90 from Westchester University. Autism spectrum disorder is a developmental disorder that may be a result of a neurological disorder that affects the development and the function of the brain. This is commonly known as ASD. Some delays or abnormalities appear in language, social skills, behavioral functions, and developments. What is yoga? Yoga is a powerful tool that can teach children to connect to their own bodies, tap into their own personal strength, better deal with life's challenges, build connections with the outside world. Yoga and ASD. Children with ASD often struggle with sensory experiences. They get stuck and react in different ways than most. Yoga for children with ASD has been proven to feel more relaxed, build core strength, stimulate a digestive system, and deepen breathing, which calms the nervous system. Yoga will create a much healthier body, and for children with ASD, they will be more comfortable in their bodies and be more aware of their bodies, which is when and where their behaviors start to improve. Some more benefits for children. The children will have reduced pain, less anxiety, reduced aggression, controlled and less obsessive behaviors, and self-stimulatory activities. Anxiety is when children with autism experience high anxiety and they have very different sensory experiences from other people. These responses often cause their bodies to get stuck in flight, fright, or freeze mode. This diverts the blood from the digestive organs to the skeletal muscles. I'll talk about the ways to relieve this anxiety during my sequence. Some benefits continued. Some benefits include stress relief and relaxation, and this is built through posture and breathing. The children learn to regulate. Energizing, which will help with improvement in school, social interactions, and overall health. And mindfulness, which is where children learn to recognize and release their tension through movement, breath, and stillness. Taken from the yoga therapy book written by Louise Goldberg. Yoga is different from other forms of exercise because it directs awareness to the body, breath, and feelings in each posture. A moving meditation provides children, especially children with ASD, an opportunity to connect with a deeper sense of self. Mindfulness teaches the child to observe the body. A few more benefits for children. There's a connection with others in a natural setting, and this includes play, speech and language development, and self-esteem. Yoga provides opportunity for children to play in a stress-free environment. Creating simply laughable and fun behaviors through posture helps teach a child to laugh and smile. Within speech and language, yoga offers many ways for children to improve and motivate speech in a natural environment. Examples include using the terms cat and dog in a posture, up and down, etc. Also, yoga breathing helps to invite opportunities for spontaneous communication. Self-esteem creates a sense of community with peers, vital for students with special needs because often students with ASD feel excluded from their own peers. Some more benefits include strength, and through different poses and breathing, it provides tools for building strength. Children with ASD are typically low-toned and lack muscle strength. Yoga works to strengthen not only muscles in the body, but your diaphragm muscle too. It provides a sense of accomplishment because with the build of strength, children with ASD can walk with greater ease, sit up straighter in class, and make it easier for a child to move and transition throughout the day. Flexibility is also another benefit. This includes stretching and releasing tension, adding brief holds to poses, inviting increased flexibility, which leads to a more relaxed body, in turn leading to a relaxed mind. Holding a posture for 30 seconds activates the Golgi tendon reflex, allowing tight muscles to begin to lengthen. As the body becomes more agile, there is greater ease in moving in and out of postures. Releasing tension through these poses will allow the child to find an openness in the body that they might not have felt before. This brings about a more relaxed body, which leads to a more relaxed mind. Two more benefits include a sense of balance, which is whole brain learning. Balance uses both sides of the brain through a sequence of poses on both sides of the body. This enhances whole brain learning. Yoga postures also regulate the blood supply to the endocrine system, which balances the release of hormones. Sensory processing is also a benefit with yoga, and it is because the proprioception, which is enabling the brain to recognize postures and poses. The picture in the corner is also a picture of a woman doing proprioception, where the brain receiving and interpreting information from multiple inputs. The vestibular organ, which is in your inner ear, that sends information about rotation, acceleration, and position within posture. Your eyes send visual information, and your stretch receptors are in your skin, muscle, and joints that send information about the position of body parts. And this is really important because it builds within children, and they are able to work on building that proprioception. Sensory integration and processing is the ability of the brain to receive, organize, and use sensory output in order to participate effectively in the world. Motor skills, including proprioception, bilateral movements, postural control, balance, and motor planning, are often challenging for students with ASD. Proprioception, again, is the information that comes from the muscle, tendons, and joints, enabling the brain to recognize positions such as flexion, extension, compression, and stretching within joints, as well as contraction and lengthening of the muscles. To carry out a pose, a child learns where his hands, feet, and other body parts are and how to move them. There are 10 tools for success that were stated in the yoga therapy book written by Louise Goldberg. Yoga can help children with ASD feel more accomplished, relaxed, connected, and positive. It is important as a teacher to adapt instruction to their learning strengths. The 10 tips for teachers include structure in instruction, schedules, social stories, substitute patterns, simplifying instruction, simplifying postures, adding visual instruction, trying to avoid frustration and creating a sense of calmness, creating a ritual, and transitions. Yoga creates many opportunities for independence, and being independent is very challenging for children with ASD. Yoga provides many different ways for children with special needs, including ASD, to learn how to become more independent. Personal log of progress. Often, children with ASD lack a clear sense of where their bodies are in space. This makes it difficult to observe their growth in yoga. By keeping a personal log, this will encourage them and support the child. They will be able to see that personal growth on paper. Independence through body awareness. Children gain independence by increasing their body awareness. They learn how to relax, which in turn they are then able to observe when their tension is elevated and become aware of those sensations. Adaptations. Children want to be able to feel success, especially through challenges, and with adaptations to poses, every child can feel successful. Another word for adaptation is modification. So as a yoga teacher or a teacher, being able to modify a pose so that all children can feel successful. Teaching self-control, and this includes controlling volume, weighting, and cueing for self-calming. Children with ASD struggle with understanding volume control and when and how to appropriately use their volume. Yoga teaches them to control their volume level. Also, waiting can be very difficult for children with ASD. In yoga, having children wait to ask their questions or comments until the end of a session teaches them patience and waiting. In yoga, there are many cues, such as breathing for self-calming. This is important for children with ASD because once learned and practiced, they will then be able to self-calm on their own. Choices. A lot of choices are given through yoga, and giving a student a choice of 2 poses, as well as when to do yoga throughout the day, will help them to become more independent and have a voice in their practice. Yoga creates an awareness of stress and being able to control that stress. Frustration is a form of expression and communication, typically for a child with ASD. Through yoga, children can gain a sense of control over their own body and feel what triggers their frustration. Scheduled breaks. This includes my time and identifying feelings. Staying on task, following directions, and completing tasks are often difficult for children with ASD. Yoga breaks during the day offer opportunities for children to let off steam and take a break. My time is practiced through what's known as yoga therapy, where children get to have a choice. They choose a pose that releases their tension or is especially calming to them. Throughout the day, if a student with ASD needs a break, tell him or her to take a My Time pose. Once independent with this, the child can then tell you when they need a My Time break. Yoga breaks also help children to identify their feelings after poses. This is very important for children with ASD because identifying feelings is often very challenging. Yoga also helps to create touch pressure, and that is refusing touch or learning to touch. Most children with ASD are sensitive to touch and find calmness through firm, steady pressure. Through yoga, children can learn how to appropriately refuse touch because they know they are in control and in charge of their own body. Learning to touch is also taught through yoga. Some children with ASD do not like to be touched, but are willing to touch another person. Through observations and modeling during a practice of yoga, children can learn to become less anxious about touch and empower them. Visualizing is very important for students with ASD, and there are many different resources out there available to you. Most common are visual cue cards that have pictures of children doing specific poses. And as you can see, this chart is broken up in the top. There is energizing poses. Some are standing at their desk, some are sitting at their desk. Down at the base, there are poses to calm. So that's really important with yoga. There are energizing and both calming poses. Visualizing is very important when working with children with ASD. Visualizing cue cards help children to visualize the pose they are supposed to take. They then imitate and model physical actions and postures. So it would help to not only show the card, but as a teacher to model that pose and then give them time to work on it themselves. Something is triggered in their brain by visual posture cue cards, which then makes them able to replicate that pose. So I am going to walk you through what is known as a calming sequence, and this is something that could take about 10 minutes with your students. You could also increase the time length for each pose. There are many different variations and sequences for all learners and needs, and it is important to understand your children and know what kind of sequence they might need. Some examples of other sequences include a slowing down sequence, energizing sequence, posture sequences, sensory processing sequence, and limited mobility sequences. So if I'm walking you through a calming sequence, your first pose is known as the H breath. So your starting position will be in a seat. If you look in picture 1, I am there sitting on a yoga mat with my legs crossed, arms on my knees. So the benefits of a H breath is that it deepens breathing, extends exhalation, tension release, and signals start of class. The instruction that a teacher would give, and these are the direct words that you would use. When we are tense or upset, our shoulders get really tight. As you breathe in, raise your shoulders up high. Breathe out and drop them down with a do 3 times. Some variations include one shoulder at a time, so lifting one right shoulder and then the left shoulder. Also, a teacher can place the hand on the right shoulder and elevate the elbow to help the student feel the upward and downward motion of the shoulder. So in picture 1, it shows me with my shoulders down. Picture 2 shows my shoulders up. And then you would release that exhalation and say, The second pose is called seated circles. So your starting position will be in a chair or on the floor. Your benefits are that it's calming, it activates a nerve, directionality, sensory awareness. The instruction a teacher would give would be hold on to your knees and make slow circles with your whole body. Stop and go the other way. So as you can see in the picture, I'm starting to go backwards to the right, and then it would come back around to the front. So I might do that 3 times in a row, and then I would stop and change my position. Some helpful cues might be to go clockwise 3 times, counterclockwise 3 times. Some variations include smaller circles to bigger circles. Reversing may be hard, and some may need assistance. So kind of switching your directions may be very challenging for students with ASD. So after 3 times in one direction, as the teacher, you might want to physically help guide the child in the opposite direction. Butterfly knees. Your starting position would be seated with the soles of your feet together, knees out to a side, the supine position. Some benefits include stretching inner thighs, external hip rotation, and creating interactive play. It also helps to benefit language skills. The instruction you would give would be to say, bring the bottom of your feet together. Holding your feet, lift your knees up and down. Now go fast like a butterfly fluttering its wings. Slow it down. Now hold on to the outside of your knees. Breathe in, knees come up. Breathe out, knees come down. And you might say that phrase again. Breathe in, knees come up. Breathe out, knees come down, until children get a hang of it. Some variations include asking the child about their butterfly to build those communication skills, such as, what color is your butterfly? Where is your butterfly flying to? How big is your butterfly? Your next pose is known as the seated egg. Your starting position would be seated with your knees bent. The soles, which are also the flat heels of your feet, are on the floor. Some benefits include spinal flexion, mindfulness, grounding, and balance. The instruction you would give would be to say, give your knees a big hug by wrapping your arms under or around your thighs. Clasp your hands together and rest. It is important to notice, too, that even though I'm not saying it throughout each pose, to teach the child to breathe. Maybe breathe in for 3 seconds, breathe out for 3 seconds. This helps to create that less anxious, less frustrated environment. Some variations for the seated egg include making this into a balanced pose with the toes touching the ground. Lift one foot up and then the other, sitting up on your sit bones. Folded leaf with breathing. Your starting position would be on the floor with your legs extended, or you could be sitting in a chair with your knees bent. The benefits include a deep back stretch, heels to crown, mindfulness, deepens breath. Your instruction. Sit up straight and tall with your legs stretched out. Take a deep breath in and reach your arms way up high. Breathe out and stretch your arms way down low. Repeat. Imagine the wind on your back, folding your leaf down. Rest your hands where they touch. Now, a lot of hands might only be at their knees. If you're seated, you would fall forward and touch the ground, so it really depends on the student, and don't push them to the edge. Some variations would be sitting in a chair where your arms are up to the sky. They may also be behind your back or low down to the ground. Drawbridges up and down. Your starting position is on your back, featured in the first picture at the top of the screen. Some benefits include stretching hips, strengthening lower back and buttocks, mindfulness, proprioception, which again is that sensory processing, gravitational security, and motor planning. Instruction. How does a drawbridge make way for boats to pass beneath it? It lifts up. Bend your knees and press your feet down. Take a deep breath and lift up your hips so that the boats can go beneath you. Sound the drawbridge horn, honk, lower slowly, and wait for the next boat. Some variations include singing songs while doing this, moving up and down consistently, grounding hands and feet without the lift. So you may do what I featured in photo 1 at the top, where my feet and hands are grounding down. My back is also not lifted up, so that is a variation if the children are not comfortable or not able to lift their hips up, as in the bottom picture. Knee hug, neck rolls. Your starting position is on your back. Some benefits include soothing, mindfulness, self-regulating. It massages your back and your neck, stretches spine and back of body, and the abdominal pressure, which aids digestion. Your instruction. Lie down on your back and hug your knees. Wrap your arms around them like you're hugging a friend. Roll your head to one side and then the other. Now gently rock from side to side. Some variations include simply hugging and rocking sideways. The feet could be on the floor and the knees could be bent. So you don't have to have your feet up off the ground. They could be like in drawbridge where the soles of the feet are flat on the ground. Supine twist. Starting position is where you hug your knees. Your benefits include strengthening the core body and stabilizing your pelvis. Instruction, so your knees are starting up and you are hugging them. Rock your knees over to your right side. Turn your head to look left. Release your hug and open both arms sideways. Resting palms up on the ground or down on the ground. Turn your head and look at your left hand. Breathe and relax. Some variations can include hugging knees in position and just rolling their head from side to side. Then they may begin rocking knees from one side to the other. Baby. Your starting position is a table where your palms of your hands are down and also your knees are down. Your benefits include calming, introspective, soothing pressure of folded limbs, proprioception, and motor planning. Your instruction. From table pose, sit on your feet. Bring your head down to the ground or onto your hands. Curl up into a tiny little ball, just like a little baby. You are safe and quiet in this pose. You are peaceful. Breathe in and out and relax. Some variations include massaging backs while doing this pose. The teacher can come around and gently kind of push on the back a little bit. This will help release tension in the lower back that typically you might not be able to do. You can also do a long arm baby. To end the sequence, there are 2 relaxing poses. This is known as Shavasana, but for children, we like to call it floating on a cloud. And your starting position is supine, so on your back. The benefits include relaxation and mindfulness. The instruction you would give is as followed. Imagine your mat is a soft, fluffy cloud. Close your eyes. Slowly roll your head to the right, to the left. Let it rest in between. Get really comfortable. Feel the tension melting away from your face and your shoulders like melting into the warm sun. Gently shake out your arms and your legs and let them sink. Feel heavy and relaxed. Pause. So in typical Shavasana, it will be about 5 minutes, but with kids, you might want to do about 1 or 2 minutes, depending on whether you're trying to do this as a sense of calming or just ending a practice. And then you'll say after your minute or 2, begin to wiggle your toes and fingers. Gently stretch and yawn and wake your body up. Some variations could be focusing eyes on a spot on the ceiling. A lot of kids might not be comfortable by closing their eyes, so they can focus on a spot at the ceiling as long as they're not talking. And they may also lay on their stomach if laying on the back is not possible or it is not comfortable. Mindful practice. This is also known as namaste. It's the way to end a practice. So your starting position will be seated on the floor with your legs crossed or in a chair. The benefits include mindfulness, connecting with others, and being self-calming. Bring your hands to your heart for namaste. Send a kind thought to a friend. So the students would then take a minute in their heads, and you would have to make sure they understood that it was a thought and not something that they would verbalize. You would then, as the teacher, say, your light and my light are one. Take a deep breath in, breathe out, and say, namaste. Some variations would include that if you're in a public school, folding the hands in front of your heart may not be acceptable, so you might need to put your hands on your knees. It would just be depending on what school you are in. To fully end the practice, right after your namaste, this is something that I included. It was not included in the sequence, but what I like to do in yoga is start the practice and end the practice with the same poses. So you would, again, do the huh breath that the student started with, so they would be seated. This, again, deepens breathing, extending exhalation, releases tension, and starts the signal of class. When we are tense or upset, our shoulders get really tight. As you breathe in, raise your shoulders up high. Breathe out and drop them down with a do 3 times. So again, one shoulder at a time. If students are struggling, you may also help them to lift their shoulders up and down so that they feel that. So creating a yoga sequence is very important for students because there's different poses for energizing students if they need to get up and move. There's calming poses is what I just walked you through. And that would typically take about 10 minutes, not even. It depends. You could do your positions, like I stated before, holding a position for about 30 seconds is where you want to be. This, again, teaches students to just relax, feel the tensions in their body, notify, and notice those triggers that are causing the frustration. This is a great website that I would just like to add into my presentation. It is called Cosmic Kids Yoga, and it is a great online resource for kids to use at home and in the classroom. It is an international company that loves to do hands-on yoga through different activities. They've got cartoons in the background. They take you to space. They take you in the jungle. So they take you to a bunch of different places. Some questions to think about. At what points during the day do you think that a child with ASD would benefit from doing yoga the most? Question 2. What yoga sequences would you do for your students? Why? And how long would they be? And these are just my references. I used 2 online resources and a fabulous book by Louise Goldberg known as Yoga Therapy for Children with Autism and Special Needs. Thank you.